giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
We need your help to keep fun loud, live, and independent. For just $1, you can be our boss at patreon.com/funfrc. Pledge your support in September and you'll be eligible to win a Cooler Master MS-120 keyboard and mouse set.
So let's get right into it. I'm sure a lot of you were just watching the First Inspires Fish channel. In 108 days, we'll all be heading into deep space for the 2019 FRC game. In past seasons, we've been given clues and hints that are really cryptic. And now we're getting full-on game names, themes, video teasers, leading right up to kickoff. I mean, it's only September and we're getting a full-on teaser. So I'll save my thoughts for later. And if you haven't seen it, I think Tyler's going to show it in a little bit. But Marshall, why don't you tell us your thoughts about what you saw on the teaser?
Let's see. So lots of space debris. There's a rocket launch or something. And then lots of habitation pod things and screens going awry. So I'll make an FMS joke later. I'll promise that much.
Wonderful. So yeah, we definitely did see a lot of chaotic stuff. Anybody else want to chime in? What did you guys think? I know Mason hasn't really seen it yet, but Kristen, have you seen it?
Yeah, I was just watching it and it's cryptic as ever, but I think it was a different take from last year, where last year they just kind of followed the same. Actually, no, for Steamworks and Stronghold, they had kind of the same exact format. And it was like, okay, really? But this one was different. It was a cool 3D animation, a lot more in depth. So I really liked this one.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because, you know, last year I think we had found out what like the theme of the game was and what the name was during the initial teaser, and we had already gotten, you know, the theme and the name of the game. So this was a bit different, and I think that partnering with Boeing definitely brought it to the next level with all this animation and stuff. So Mason, you were part of the game design review committee at one point. What do you, based on that experience, like what do you think, like this time of year with the game, what do you think is kind of going through the heads of people at headquarters? Because obviously, like, there's still time. January is pretty far away at this point. So what do you think could happen between teaser date and then that first Saturday in January?
I don't know. You say there's still time. There's really not much time left. They got to manufacture all these fields and have them ready. They like to do their filming earlier before kickoff, usually like a month or two before kickoff. So they got to get to that point where they can set up the full field and actually have all the game pieces out and drive it around. So the game's probably pretty set as far as like components go, field elements, game piece. I would guess there's still, some tweaks going on in the rules, trying to get that final scoring all set up and really trying to polish off the manual, because they got to go through reviews on the manual, get enough eyes on it to find all those spelling errors and, all those weird twists and stuff that can come out. Yeah. So all you guys at home can't break the game on the first day.
Marshall.
Hasn't stopped us yet.
Yeah. So we all saw the trailer, but after last year, last year was like totally different with the time-based scoring. And somebody in the audience during the show tonight was talking about how each year since 2015, there's been some element that First is adding. So what do you guys anticipate after some of the changes we saw last year with the technician and then like an unusual method of scoring? Or what are you hoping for, I guess, too?
Oh man, everyone's so quiet.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say.
I still, for me, I always expect the unexpected with First from the games. So things that I haven't seen changed at the time I've been involved, stuff around alliance selection and things that have been somewhat traditions for a while, I still anticipate changes there at some point. I don't know that they'll necessarily be for the best, but I can expect changes there. From a game standpoint, I don't know, unusual game pieces would be something different. So I feel like last couple of years, it's been the most unusual thing I think has probably been the gear, and something else unusual that's maybe custom made or is kind of an oddball item out of the Gopher catalog would be interesting. So,
yeah. Kristen, what about you? What are you, anticipating after last year or previous years, or what do you want to see happen in this coming year?
So given the background I've got working in sort of the space industry at ADI, I was really psyched seeing the theme this year, and I would actually like to see a little more involvement with autonomous, because that's sort of an area that hasn't really been touched in a very long time. I don't know how many years ago it was that they finally increased the time length for auto, but it was a long time ago.
Teaser's got this storm in it. I think that's all about occlusion. So we're going to have part of the field we can't see. I think that's going to be a great try. There's actually going to be giant drapes that come down, block the driver's view for part of the time during the match. So you're going to have to like rely on your camera from your robot or come up with some other cool sensor technology. You're going to be trying to load up the rocket ship before it takes off, similar to when the airships had to take off and we were loading fuel in those. And there's going to be a bunch of terrain. It's going to be, and we're just going to reuse all the game pieces. So we're going to have power cubes. Those are going to be like big containers. We're going to have the big gopher balls. Those are going to be fuel pellets or something silly. So we're just going to have all the old game pieces out there. It's going to be, and it makes sense, right? Like, because we're going to get tubes. Tubes are going to come back, and those are super lightweight. So they're going to reduce gravity because we got the super lightweight game pieces.
Floating game pieces.
Yeah.
To be fair, that actually sounds a lot like what the FTC game is this year.
Reusing game pieces.
Reusing game pieces, climbing on a rocket ship.
In fairness, the multitude of game pieces and scoring methodologies sounds like an FTC game from every year. So,
yeah, pretty much. I as soon as you said that, Mason, all I could think of is like the gigantic camera poles. It's like that's really the game. Who can make the tallest, PVC camera on a stick to their driver's station? Oh man. So that's pretty interesting though. I don't know. I think the idea of like something you're not gonna be able to see until the end, it's pretty plausible, especially from this teaser. So I mean, like Frank said, we'll have to wait until the first Saturday in January to see. But I don't know. I'm interested to see where this partnership with Boeing goes. If it's gonna have some like heavy influence on like the way that the game plays out. One of my students posted a picture on Slack. He was like, "Oh my gosh, like we should have known it was space themed." They handed out these like craters or these asteroids that said Boeing on them at Champs this year before they like released the game. He was like, "I should have known."
To be fair, Boeing actually has a big involvement in the space industry. I don't know how many people are aware of that, but they play a much larger part than most people think. They make more than 747s.
Yeah, that's all I know them for. And when we went down to the Palmetto Regional last year, I landed in Charleston and like drove by the gigantic like Boeing plant right there.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody knows SpaceX is building sweet new rockets, and everyone knows NASA builds rockets, but Boeing's actually one of the biggest rocket builders as well, and they've got a giant contract with NASA to dehuman spaceflight and launch rockets. So they've got their space launch system. Is that right? And so they're building this giant rocket, right? So they want to advertise that. So I think that's going to be a big part of this game.
Maybe we'll have human players in a rocket on the field, and you have to launch them up into space. They're just going to put new side panels on the airships. That's my guess.
I wouldn't be surprised. They have to manufacture new airships, I think, though. I think most of them came to pieces and got dispersed through various teams.
All right, so we're gonna watch the trailer with audio because I know Mason probably hasn't seen it. I want to rewatch it because there was a lot going on. So let's go ahead and roll that, Tyler. We were just talking, there's definitely got to be some sort of crazy end game
Yeah.
We're noticing all these little things.
So
I thought there'd be steps last year, so I'm starting to think, the flat field, maybe those days.
No, flat field's out the door, man. It's time for new-
Maybe it'll be moving stuff.
I don't think it'll be completely flat, but I think they've kind of learned their lesson with making it more non-flat than flat. So it's hard for teams.
Yeah, I mean,
More
2016 was a
dynamic.
great game, and it
Yeah.
was super distorted field. And
So
2012 was
right
awesome.
there,
with,
there's
like,
like-
little
yeah.
bump.
back up one shot if you can. There's like some cubes sitting on the floor there that are kind of funny. Right there, those things. I don't know if those are game pieces, but why not?
What are you talking about? The chairs? Oh,
Yeah, are those
No,
chairs?
the boxes.
Those
are
Are they
chairs.
too?
They look like
chair amazing.
They look
Oh,
like
I'm looking at the thing on the right. Yeah,
I don't know.
I
Are
was
they
thinking the rolly chairs could be the game.
maybe they're companion cubes or something?
Companion cube.
That's
The name of the
that's
game.
what we need. This year's challenge: interdimensional portals.
It's got some sort of icon on each side.
It does actually. That is interesting. I don't know. I
Vision
don't know what that
target recognition.
Oh, it's
I
been
mean,
a while since.
Yeah, what if you had to drive out of the
Like-
pad and you had to go through a little port like that? And so
Oh God!
Or look at
certain
the floor shape. It's like the Simon.
So
Like
I
it
guess,
reminds me of Simon.
Simon says, "Oh my
do
gosh!"
all the teams that have hexagonal shaped frames have an easier time? That's my question.
Oh, maybe that's the shape of the puck from what was it, 1997?
Yeah,
Or no, 99, I think.
yeah, it was
99, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that was also in 2002 when they had that big tall thing that could bounce.
I
But
want to know. Wait,
I think these shapes are going to be really relevant for some reason.
know.
Like the floor. Oh, there's a play button there.
so. If
Oh,
you
there's
go
a
back,
triangle, yeah.
I want to know about the chairs. Those definitely this is clearly a private space operation and not NASA because those are Aeron chairs or something.
Yeah.
Like a $2,000.
It's a very nice chair. Nicer than I have in my office.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is clearly some private space funding right
Yeah.
there.
We don't have those in public schools, I can tell you that much. So
Yeah, I work
I'm wondering too, there's obviously some ramp going on. There's some stairs.
Yeah.
What are those random things off to the right? Is that Plowy? Those are Plowies off to the right?
Are they plowies?
Are they?
I want
I mean, look at that. That's
Those
blue-
boxes look
blue
an awful
rectangle.
lot like Gozer.
You know what? I want Ellen Ripley to come out in the giant space carrier thing from Aliens. Where's that at?
No, is that truss structure the field truss structure?
Yeah,
that you see?
That's exactly what I thought. It's oh man, but that was also on the artwork for last year's game too, and it had nothing to do with anything. Well, it was drawn on the field, but
I'm guessing the Boeing logo will play a prominent role this year.
Definitely, yeah.
Although I don't know, the FGC field doesn't have Qualcomm anywhere. They just said it a lot in the stream.
I like this idea that we're gonna have to drive through tunnels,
It's a critical mission.
habitat modules.
oh, maybe it'll be you have to decide is your robot going to be a low robot that can make it through the tunnel, or is it going to be a tall robot, kind of
and
in
go
a
over the tunnel.
26? Yeah, go over the tunnel. Yeah, you're either going through the tunnel or over the tunnel. And then look at all these computers.
Oh yeah, this is the Alliance
They all
station right
start-
here
Yes.
for sure.
You know how I know it
There's
is?
3 screens.
I know there's more of them actually. So
What
maybe
do you think it's going to be called this year, though? So last year, what was it? Your the game,
arcade?
the arcade, right? So
Oh,
is
The command
this,
module. Yeah.
command
definitely.
The hab.
There you go.
And
I
again,
just keep thinking of all these
Yeah,
space movies that came out. Where's Matt Damon?
dude,
Or,
we're gonna science the crap out of this. That's what we're doing.
That's there you go. There's your hashtag for the season. Science the crap out of this. And I'm interested to
All
see
right.
what these things will end up being.
So here's my clear joke. Those warning messages clearly disconnects from FMS. Obviously.
Although, seeing all the warnings and the impending avalanche, whatever it was,
Mhm.
makes it sound a lot like, okay, you have to get off the planet because something's going to come
Yeah.
blow up the command module, and you've got there's the rocket launch at the end. So
Right.
maybe you have to climb on the rocket and get
What
off.
about the numbers that were flashing in the left-hand corner? Like I think that it went from the kickoff date to something else, but I know the fun logo is kind of blocking it right now. But did anybody in chat like slow it down and figure out like what those changing numbers up in the left were, or have any speculations of what they were?
I tried to look at it, but I didn't see any rhyme or reason, but it was also really fast.
Yeah, that's true. So while we're talking about all of these tiny, minute details, in the past, First has not done something this elaborate. They've given us like, they've just dropped random bombs like, oh, here's these random numbers, or here's this random picture. And then people on Chief Delphi just go like really deep down the rabbit hole of figuring out what it is. So for those of you who have experienced game hints, what have your favorite game hints or teasers been throughout your time in FRC? So,
Kristen,
Kristen,
did you guys see this head? Oh,
Sure.
never mind.
You?
Yeah, the running faces.
Yeah,
That's a silhouette. Yeah.
It is.
Sorry, distraction.
Nice
Sorry,
art
yeah.
analogy. Yeah, so
There you go.
back to favorite teasers or game hints. Kristen, do you have one from your time in FRC? Or do they do this in FTC? Do they give teasers?
I don't know. So I was in FGC for a year in 2010, right after the FDC thing happened, and so I didn't get pulled back into FRC until Ultimate Ascent, and so the first teaser I actually watched would have been Aerial Assist. But I definitely got super hyped for Stronghold because that was the first year that they did something more elaborate than like a word hint or keep your pool noodles.
That's very true. Marshall, what about you? What's been your favorite game hint?
You know, I very much remember. I started way back in 03. I remember all of the like text hints and stuff. I think my favorite one was the like random sports player thing that ended up being tied to one of the games, maybe 05 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody on Chief actually managed to figure it out that year. It's kind of impressive. But I do have to say, from a student standpoint and from a like engagement standpoint with the community and larger market and trying to get mind share, I feel like the new iteration of teasers since Stronghold has been so much better, and they're doing more to get other people kind of engaged, and I kind of like that. The themes I'm not a huge fan of them, to be honest, but at the same time, I do think it's working. So credit where credit's due. Like it seems to be a kind of cool thing, and people are engaging with it and kind of getting more involved and more hyped about it, which I think was the point. So good for them.
I would agree. So Mason, what about you? You've been around for a while, so you've got a long list to choose from.
I'm racking my brain for any hints that I actually liked, and there are none. They all suck.
Yeah,
they all suck.
No, I mean, because they're all fun, right? There's been a lot of really fun ones, and I do remember getting really involved in all the Chief Delphi, like super deep dive, CSI. Let's figure out what this means. It's enjoyable, but they never turn out to really give you a glimpse of the game, which is the point, I guess. But I really like these theme ones. They like Marshall was saying, they get people amped, and that's good for the program.
Yeah, from a student standpoint, like I remember the teasers when I was a student, and I certainly like they were interesting, but they weren't super exciting. Nowadays, though, like literally right before joining the call here, I had about 35, 40 students in the room, and we played the trailer teaser for them all, and everybody clapped at the end of it, which was really cool to me. So it seems very different to me. And I kind of like that. I like that it gets the students hyped about it and gets them talking and, oh, maybe it means this, and maybe it means this. And that's good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I had a bunch of students on our Slack who were like, the FGC game is coming up, like the FRC teaser is next week, like, oh my gosh, this is so great. So I would agree with you. Like, I definitely remember those days of being like, this is way beyond my, like, giving a shit with these hints. But one that I liked personally was the year after I graduated, they did the coordinates of the Hancock Tower.
Yeah.
And it had to do with like the tortoise and the hare statue, like the race, and then the shape of the field was really similar to the like hexagonal shape at the top of the tower.
I would love to see them combine something like that with the teaser, because I think that would be really cool for some of us who kind of enjoy the cerebral aspect of it and the puzzle solving with the hints. I don't know. I enjoyed that. I know they didn't put a lot of time into it, but it still seemed really cool to me. So, to your point earlier, though, you mentioned the FTC, the game being released. I really do like that they've unified the themes between the programs, and I feel like that's adding to it. Like we in our space here, we have FTC, FLL, and Junior FLL as well as FRC represented, and to have the progression of programs represented and have everybody all kind of talking about space and talking about astronauts and they're feeding off of each other, which is really exciting to me as a mentor.
And you can definitely tell that's what First is trying to get at, and I think that this is going to be a really big step forward in doing that. So real quick before we move on to our next topic, Tyler did mention that somebody in chat posted that they had heard from an FTA at their regional that First was calling back all the scales and switches for repurposing. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Thank you to all of our co-executive producers, keeping fun loud, live, and independent. Pledge your support. Go to patreon.com/funfrc.